Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the player ratings right after the game between Melbourne and Collingwood. We get the win. It's a hit and run sort of situation to a certain extent. We were able to capitalise on some critical moments, whereas Melbourne didn't. I will cover that throughout the week and sort of identifies and really paints the picture as to the difference between a side that are in the bottom half of the ladder versus a side that is right up there for premiership contention. So we'll dive in deeper and go from there. But let's start. Obviously, we're going to pick 5 or 6 Collingwood players, so the chat are going to dictate that the direction we go in. But I'll start with Jeremy Howe. Now, there is Josh. Thank you, baby. Josh Dacos won that Neil Danaher medal. That's great. He was integral to the win and setting up the game for us. But if there was another medal that we could curate and put together, which we will, it's going to be called the Manny's Medal. I know it's halfway through the season, but I think we need to start putting together a medal that we follow. The Manny's Medal. So if you got, most of you know Manny, right? Manny comes onto the show week in, week out, and we are going to do a 5-4-3-2-1 system. 5 best on ground to 1 point being the 5th best on ground. This player must exude assertiveness, passion, and desire. Really simple, okay? So, any guesses as to who will probably get the votes there? We'll stick around and we will go through that at the end of the player ratings. But let's start with Jeremy Howe. Game high. Was it a game high? It was certainly a team high. Yes, it was a game high by far and away. Intercept possessions. 14 intercept possessions. 12 contested possessions as a defender. 2 contested marks. This guy is by far and away our best defender. You've got Jeremy Howe, you've got Billy Frampton, and then as far as key position, I've got Darcy Moore as my 3rd most important defender for Collingwood right now in the key position. How you want to read into that? Look, we'll dive into Darcy Moore, I'm sure, throughout the post-game show and throughout the week because there's some concerns there, I'll be honest. And, it's not all sunshine and lollipops here at Pies Footy. If there's something we need to highlight and address and discuss as a community, we will do that. But yeah, for me, Jeremy Howe was Collingwood's best player on the ground in terms of impact. He ended up having, as well as all those intercept possessions, he had 26 possessions, 21 kicks, nearly 600 metres gained, 5 tackles, a bunch of 1%ers that we will celebrate as well. He gets a 10 out of 10 for mine. There's no arguing, okay? The next person we're going to talk about is Scott Pendlebury. You guys remember that centre bounce moment. It's unbelievable how he's able to navigate at his own pace within the contest, and it's timeless. And that's why he's 37 years old and is still able to play to the highest level. 29 touches, 3 clearances, 2 goal assists, which is crucial. Anything on the advanced meters that we like from his game. 4 inside 50s, 6 score involvements in a game where there wasn't a bunch of score involvements. Then that's a good return at a 90% disposal efficiency. He also slowed down the game late in the 4th quarter when we needed to. Himself, still side bottom, finding that uncontested possession dominance. And we really did control the outside game. Melbourne punished us by way of the contest. I think we were minus 30 in the contested possession realm, which is plain and simply not going to cut it towards the final series, but call it a glitch in the matrix. Is that a good term, guys? I'm not too sure, but it's not something we want to be a common theme. That reminds me of 2023, where we don't win many stats, where we just win the game, and we sort of did that today. But if it wasn't for players like Scott Pendlebury, we wouldn't be celebrating this win together right now. Oof, she's hot. Scott Pendlebury for mine. 8.5 out of 10, guys. Get your ratings in. So I gave Jeremy Howe a 10 out of 10. Scott Pendlebury gets an 8.5 out of 10. And we have a $10 donation from the great man, Ben Zero. Defensively, pretty typical Pies. Didn't do as much near offensively. Still, this part's cut out. I can't see it all. Still ground another team over the game and kept them to a beatable score. Still thought the D's are... I'm sorry, I can't see the rest of that donation, Ben, but maybe put it in a chat so I can read it out again. But thank you so much. We'll move on to the next player. I thought Mick Stay, and he didn't have a bunch of touches, didn't have as many ruck duels, maybe. I mean, it wasn't certainly noticeable as much in the ruck, given he was against the likes of Max Gawn. But, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he had a lot of moments against Van Rooyen and maybe Petty in the ruck. But most importantly, he had those 2 goals, which were clutch early in the game, and then in that fourth quarter, that massive contested mark, which is why we have him in the side, and Manny will be... he'd be loving this right now because he was bullish on getting him back into the side. A lot of fans probably, or some fans like myself, probably thought maybe give him till after the bye. But look, he was fit, raring to go. He had 6 touches, 2 goals, 2 marks, just crucial in moments, and that's what these experienced players are in the team for. We'll give Mick Stay a 7 out of 10. And you know what? If he doesn't have those crucial moments, he doesn't get a rating. But I had to include him for those critical moments within the game. So a 7 out of 10. The next one we'll talk about is Steele Sidebottom. 25 touches, a couple clearances. What is the advanced statistical category saying regarding Steele Sidebottom? 6 intercept possessions. I thought, like I said with Pendlebury, late in the game, there were moments. I remember when, was it Beau McCreary? Guys, do you remember in the chat? Late in the game, Beau McCreary had the ball coming outside of our defensive 50. You might not notice this, but it's a big moment. Steele Sidebottom puts a nice shepherd just to impede Cozzy Pickett from applying that relentless tackling pressure that he applies in pretty much every game. If that doesn't happen, Beau doesn't have the opportunity to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps to get to where the game was in that moment. So that was a big moment for Steele Sidebottom. I just trust him so much. Trust him with my life. He's so reliable and just finds a way to impact the game no matter where he plays. And for that, I'm going to give Steele Sidebottom an 8 out of 10. We must give some flowers to Darcy Cameron. 6 intercept possessions. I think he finished the game with, was it 4 intercept marks? Let's see. I don't have the stat here. But anyways, he had a bunch of intercept marks in defensive half. Max Gawn had his moments and he was great in the ruck. But around the grounds, I thought Darcy Cameron had a really strong impact. Had some really brave moments on that wing. Pretty much 2 sequences in a row. And he was really good. So it's just a perfect picture today when you go up against a tap ruckman, one of the best tap ruckman, and to be fair, Gawn does a lot around the grounds, but I thought Darcy Cameron really matched him around the grounds and maybe got it just over him with those intercept marks, and that's just a perfect image today, just showing what a ruckman can do if tapping isn't their forte, their go-to. So real big ups to the big man DC. I'll give him an 8 out of 10. And look, there's a bunch of players we can talk about and we can go into the negatives, but the player ratings are sort of just... If there's enough players to celebrate, we're going to lean towards the players who did really well. So don't kick up a fuss. We will highlight the players who were maybe... They've been a bit disappointing and whatnot. We'll talk about that throughout this post-game show. We'll talk about that through the week. We'll do the analysis, so we'll do that. But a player who's coming up quite frequently right now is Isaac Quaynor. And defensively, the 1%ers, the efforts, the ground ball contest, I thought Isaac Quaynor was really competitive. Had 5 intercept possessions. Look, the numbers aren't going to reek of greatness from Isaac Quaynor today. How many touches did he have? 25 touches. He's finding the footy. I don't know if there's been a tactical change in the way he approaches the game, but this is the guy that we saw in 2023. His run and carry, he's finding targets. Like we've been talking, guys, this has been brewing for a few weeks now, hasn't it? We've been talking about how Q is just lifting and lifting and lifting. And today is another really good step. He's showing some class and being in that young contingent of players who are bringing the club forward beyond the Pendleburys, the Sidebottoms and the Howes. This guy needs to be what he is right now, particularly in the last few weeks. Guys, let's do the fun part, Manny's medal. So for those who are joining now, we are starting a medal to follow in the player ratings. It's called the Manny's medal. Simply, we want this player who wins the medal at the end of the season to exude, assertiveness, passion, and desire, which is pretty much the emulation of Manny, the great man, one of the fan favourites in the Pies footy community. So let's go from Let's go from 1 till 5. So 1 being the 5th best player in the field and 5 being the best. So let's go. Who gets the 1 vote, guys? Let's cook this up. Let's be as quick as possible so we can get into the post-game show. Who gets the 1 vote? And I'll jot this down. It needs to be unanimous, of course. So let's be sure of where we're at. So 1 vote goes to who? Or add in here. So we got Pendles, Quaynor, maybe Darcy Cameron's in the conversation. Maybe we'll do 3. We'll do 3, 2, 1, guys. I think 5, 4, 3, 2, 1's a bit overkill. We'll do 3, 2, 1. So this is for the 1 vote. This one's a close poll, guys. So Josh Dacos leading at the moment for the 2 votes. Okay, so it looks like Jeremy Howe is getting the 2 votes. I'm a bit disappointed, guys. I can't lie. I would have thought Jeremy Howe gets the 3 votes. I'm a bit disappointed in the community. Are we really going to settle? Are we going to settle for Howe for 2 votes? You sure any of you want to change your votes to a Josh Dacos? Anyhow, all right, whatever you guys. Jeremy Howe it is, 2 votes. For those who didn't vote, aren't voting Jeremy Howe for 3 votes, you better have a good reason. You better have an explanation for me, because that is disappointing. All right, so now we add you guys. If there's a player with their name that finishes in Dacos and he has a good game, you guys give him the votes. Come on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the player ratings. We're going to move on to the post-game show. Go Pies.